Tonight, Glasgow City Council falls victim to a cyber attack. Personal data may have been stolen and online services are down. We're live with the latest. Also making the headlines, a fraudster who conned customers out of more than £500,000 selling fake Scottish tea is jailed for 3.5 years.
Where was the equipment and where was the knowledge to make those teas? And where were the plants? You know, you can't make tea from nothing.
As the Scottish Government moves to crack down on botched Botox and dermal fillers, I'll have the latest on what this all means for the sector and for patients.
And in sport, to the max, Russell Martin makes his first signing as Rangers manager as a defender joins from the English Premier League. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Glasgow City Council has been hacked with fears personal data has been stolen. It's one of the largest cyber attacks of a public body in Scotland. The incident happened last week and some council services are offline while they'll deal with the breach. The council says financial data like bank details has not been compromised. Other local authorities which use Glasgow's penalty payment system have also been affected. Law reporter Vanessa Taff has the latest on this for us tonight. So, Vanessa, how significant is this breach?
This is huge, and it is one of the largest attacks of this nature on a public body in Scotland. And we're hearing tonight, as we come on air, that other councils have also been impacted by this. Now, Glasgow City Council say it's your data that's been compromised here. So think of your name, your address, your date of birth. They could potentially be in the hands of criminals tonight. Now, the council told me that they first noticed this event last Thursday when there's a real spike in the data moving around their online systems. And those systems, they say, are voluntarily down tonight. So if you're trying to pay a parking fine, if you're trying to submit a planning application or get a birth or a death certificate, you won't be able to do that. Now, the pension fund is also compromised, so that's also down. But the council are keen to stress that it hasn't compromised their financial services, and their bank details, they say, are safe for now.
As it goes on, we are closely monitoring whether any of our data has been revealed and is on the web. But the longer it goes on, if data has been removed, the more likely it is that it will become public. So the position of not revealing information to the people who have done this has to be balanced with the fact that we need to give some advice and reassurance to our customers. And we feel we are at that point now.
So, Vanessa, what next for the council and those who use their online services?
Well, expert investigators are on hand now. The UK government are involved, the Scottish government, Police Scotland as well. But, you know, we've been hearing so much about these type of cyber attacks on mostly businesses, so think M&S and the Co-op. Now, one cyber security expert has told me tonight, and we've been hearing as we've been coming on air, that this is likely to have a widespread impact on some other councils who potentially use these servers, the same ones Glasgow City Council are using. And this highly sensitive information that they have is like a goldmine for those criminals.
If it's the exact same servers which are used by some other councils, but if such an infrastructure is compromised, it means the way they manage these servers, there is a loophole, and it could be exploited by the attackers for other councils as well.
If this is such a major breach, why is it taking Glasgow City Council so long to tell people?
Well, this has been the question on everyone's lips today, particularly with people within the city as well. Now, the council said they were advised not to tell people because if someone wishes you harm and they know you're weak, they know you're down, they know you're vulnerable, they're going to come and they're going to keep attacking you. Now, Police Scotland have also said and advised people that if someone contacts them claiming to be from Glasgow Council or saying that they have your information from Glasgow Council, you need to report them immediately. But honestly, we won't really know the true scale of the release of this potentially highly significant and sensitive information for some days to come.
Vanessa, Glasgow City Chambers, thank you. A fraudster who imported tea from abroad and sold it on as Scottish grown has been jailed for 3.5 years. Thomas Robinson spun elaborate lies and tricked customers, including luxury hotels, into paying premium prices for tea he claimed he produced in Perthshire. He was found guilty of fraud totalling more than £500,000. Our chief reporter, Sharon Frew, was in court.
Trading as the Wee Tea Plantation, the man who set up this business on a former sheep farm near Loch Tay made some bold claims.
And who drinks your tea?
The finest hotels and restaurants in the world, in Paris, London, Edinburgh, New York, and also we understand it's a favourite of the Queen.
In fact, Thomas Robinson, who was also known to his customers as Tam O'Bran, was sowing the seeds of a scam. His plants had not been grown on Scottish soil. Robinson had imported tea from wholesalers abroad and repackaged it. He managed to trick luxury hotels like the Balmoral in Edinburgh and the Dorchester in London into stocking his brands. He also deceived genuine Scottish tea growers, making them believe they were buying a unique variety of plant.
He was a very convincing character. He seemed to have all the credentials and the education behind him. He told us that he was selling us plants that were selectively bred in Scotland. It turned out that they weren't actually selectively bred in Scotland for 11 years, but they'd been bought in from Italy via someone who never actually was paid for the plants. And we felt very lied to and betrayed.
Prosecutors say the 55-year-old had the CV of a fantasist. He claimed he sold tea to Kensington Palace, was a multi-millionaire, a polymer scientist, that he'd worked for the Obama administration and that he'd even invented the bag for life. The truth about his tea business emerged after the authorities ran checks to see if he had a food processing licence.
As he was trying to sell a top-end product, and that was only really going to be achieved by selling to the top-end hotels, because he was wanting to achieve a maximum profit that he could on what he was selling. So he had to target the top-end hotels. As the interest and the intention grew upon it, he was making more and more money, and he was selling more and more tea to more and more establishments. And essentially, once the investigation started, it all stopped.
So tea growing in Scotland is experimental. We don't have a Scottish tea plant, and a lot of the plants that get put in the ground literally die because they're just not happy here. And there were claims of all sorts of quite difficult teas to make, such as matcha and oolong, that require very specialised equipment. Well, where was the equipment? And where was the knowledge to make those teas? And where were the plants? You can't make tea from nothing.
Before sentencing, the 55-year-old told the court that arrogance had made him think that he knew best, and he offered his sincere apologies to those who'd been affected by his actions and for the reputational damage that he had caused. The sheriff told Robinson this was not a victimless crime and that there had been significant and persistent planning involved. Robinson sat with his head in his hands as he was sentenced to 42 months in prison. Sharon Frew, STV News at Stirling Sheriff Court.
The Scottish Government is set to crack down on what's called the Wild West of non-surgical cosmetic procedures, things like Botox and dermal fillers. At the moment, they can be carried out by someone with no medical training or qualifications, which experts warn is leading to serious patient harm. Under new proposals, some procedures would need to be supervised by a qualified healthcare professional. Our political reporter Laura Alderman has more.
Well, this marks a huge change today because thousands of Scots undergo these procedures in clinics like this one every year in Scotland. Now, they're often referred to as tweakments, things like Botox and dermal fillers, but at the moment, the sector is largely unregulated, and exactly who can or should be doing these procedures has been the focus of the Scottish Government's consultation. Well, one of the experts advising the Government on this is Jackie Partridge from Dermal Clinic, and Jackie joins me now. Jackie, safe to say you're in favour of these proposals. Why are they needed?
So there really isn't enough regulation at the moment. I mean, even in England, under 18s can't be injected, but we don't even have that protection at the moment in Scotland. So it really is important. It's crying out for more patient safety. So I think any consultation is definitely welcome. I think we could have gone further to protect the patients even more, but the fact that we're now in a situation where any things like Botox, dermal fillers are going to have to be done under medical supervision is really, really important.
But there's many practitioners across Scotland doing these procedures who might not have a medical background, but they say they are qualified to carry these out, and they say they have many happy patients too. And for them, they're saying this tighter regulation is taking away their livelihoods and also a very lucrative business. Is that fair?
So we can keep the patients happy. Nobody's stopping them from doing these procedures, but they will need to be carried out in a Healthcare Improvement Scotland registered clinic. So it's not that livelihoods are going to be taken away. Yes, their overheads are probably going to go up because they will need to employ or use the services of a healthcare practitioner, but ultimately patient safety has to top trump absolutely everything.
Fantastic. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us on the STV News at 6. And of course, at the moment, these are just proposals, and a bill to change that and bring in tighter regulation will be introduced to Parliament later this year.
Now, it was called the Tinker Experiment, and for decades it saw members of Scotland's gypsy traveller community forced into substandard accommodation, while others had their children forcibly removed. Research into the impact of the policy has seen it described as cultural genocide. Today, the First Minister apologised for the trauma caused and said it should never have happened. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
In the woods in Pitlochry, the huts at Bobbin Mill had no running water or electricity. Members of the gypsy traveller community were put into these conditions, with the authorities hoping it would force them out of their lifestyle and into houses. When families got too big, children were sometimes taken away. Rosanna says she was born into an experiment.
Well, it decimated all life chances, despite more than one professional qualification and a joint honours degree. When I moved back to my home area because my father was ill, I never worked again. But partly, I would say that was victimisation because I kept raising the fact my father was paying rent for no water, no electricity.
Today she was in Parliament's public gallery for an apology from the First Minister.
The Tinker experiments should not have happened. Those policies were wrong. And we recognise how much it is still hurting so many today. And more than anything else, I want to say this. On behalf of Scotland, we are sorry.
At St Andrews University, research has found the policies were in operation across much of Scotland and called the result cultural genocide.
There was just a wealth of evidence of discriminatory treatment and of just attitudes and stereotypes that just together brought us to the situation that we see.
For the gypsy traveller community, today's apology has been a long time coming. They say it is an acknowledgement, but what it doesn't do is right any wrongs, and that means there's a lot more work to be done.
We need to see a commitment to healing. We need to make sure that the next generation of gypsy travellers can access their culture, can live their culture, can speak their language without feeling like their children are going to be forcibly removed, without feeling like their culture has no belonging in the landscape of Scotland and the wider UK. We need to see that change.
The First Minister said today there are no plans at this stage for a redress scheme, but said the community would be at the heart of discussions on what happens next. Gordon Cree, STV News, Holyrood.
The Glasgow subway has been forced to close today as workers go on strike over pay and working conditions. More than 100 SPT workers are taking part in the industrial action, which will also see the subway closed on Friday and Saturday. Unite the Union says it's open to further discussions on pay. The SPT say they remain committed to seeking a resolution. A new shipbuilding hall at BAE Systems in Govan pays homage to a pioneering female electrician who took on crucial roles in the shipbuilding effort during the Second World War. Janet Harvey was just 18 when she was drafted in as an electrician. She was one of just a handful of women working on the Clydeside. In commemoration of her effort, the shipyard she worked in now houses the Janet Harvey Hall, which is big enough to allow 2 Royal Navy warships to be built at the same time. When it opened its doors in 2022, Corsford College was the first of its kind in Scotland, offering higher education to young adults with complex needs and disabilities. The college celebrated its first graduation ceremony, and there are now calls for more campuses like it around the country. Tara Fitzpatrick reports.
20-year-old Jamie has a passion for music. But due to his complex learning needs, his parents worried what his future would hold after he left school.
Jamie's a very active boy. He likes a lot of things. He likes his music, theatre, pubs. You know, he just enjoys life. He's got a learning disability and autism, which is just one of those things in life. But why shouldn't he have the same opportunities as everybody else?
Jamie Thompson. Jamie has now become one of the first students in Scotland to graduate from Corsford College, a facility specifically designed for young adults with complex needs. Before its opening in 2022, students had to travel to England for any similar form of higher education.
I had someone speak to me just recently there that saying that they just can't believe how well Jamie has progressed from when he started here till now. You know, how he's sort of like calmed his behaviours down more and how to, you know, talk to people. He's just come on leaps and bounds. I think Jamie's so excited that he just can't keep still at the moment. He's just so full of life.
You've got a medal. Could you show us your medal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. You won that?
Yeah.
The college has now secured Scottish Government funding for the next 2 years, but Capability Scotland, who run the campus, say the model should be replicated across the country.
What a milestone.
We were obviously starting from scratch. It was a completely new concept in terms of Scotland, the first of its kind in Scotland, and so it was a journey that we went on to make sure that this happened.
Look at that smile.
We've came through a lot of hurdles over the last 3 years. It seems to have just gone in a flash. Those students that came in the door, very first students in, they were a tremendous group. How they've grown, how they've developed, how they've matured. It's been such a rewarding journey for all of the staff. And certainly the learning for the students has been tremendous.
The Scottish Government said it is evaluating the success of this pilot project. And Jamie is getting ready for his next chapter at a daycare centre. Mum Sarah hopes colleges like Corsford can one day be available to all families across the country. Tara Fitzpatrick, STV News.
Romance here with tonight's sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Summer Sale.
Good evening. Max Aaron says Rangers fans should be excited after joining the Ibrox club on a season-long loan from Bournemouth to become Russell Martin's first signing. The right-back, who spent the second half of last campaign on loan at Valencia, also says he will bring energy to the team. Martin, who knows Aaron from the pair's time at Norwich, has described the 25-year-old as a wonderful talent and says he's a fantastic addition to his squad. Rangers don't have an option to buy the player, who has 4 years remaining on his Bournemouth contract. Tony Bloom has doubled down on his belief that Hearts are ready to disrupt the pattern of Scottish football, saying it has been in place for too long, that after he completed his near £10 million investment in the club. The Brighton owner says he is absolutely thrilled after his 29% stake in the Tynecastle club was rubber-stamped, adding Hearts have a bright future and is looking forward to seeing this unfold in the months and years ahead. Bloom has appointed long-term associate James Frank onto the board. David Martindale says he's packing his squad with Premiership experience for next season after learning the lessons of Livingston's last campaign in the top flight. After defeating Ross County in the playoff final last month, Livy are installing a new artificial pitch to satisfy SPFL standards, as Jamie Borthwick now reports.
They booked their return to the top flight the hard way. Now Livingston are putting in the hard yards to be ready for kick-off. David Martindale has been busy in the transfer market, with former Dundee midfielder Mo Silla one of the latest to sign on in West Lothian.
This year we've got a lot of Premiership players, our boys that have got a lot of Premiership experience in the building. And Mo's got a lot of experience as well, so we're going to be putting out, we're going to have a good 15, 16, maybe a wee bit more than that, of boys that have played at this level, played Premiership level previously. And I think that should stand us in good stead going forward.
One such experienced signing is Graham Carey, who gets another shot at the top flight despite being relegated last season with St Johnstone.
When the season finished, we had meetings and the manager said he wasn't going to offer me a new deal. So yeah, and then I got the phone call from the gaffer here, and I mean, just give me the chance to keep playing in the Premier Division was a big thing for me, because I felt like I could still offer a lot in that league. So yeah, and I think after a few days being in here, I think my decision's been justified.
And it's not just on the training field where the hard work is going on. Livingston are currently installing a new updated artificial pitch as a condition of their return to the Premiership. However, a ban on plastic surfaces is due to come into effect for the top tier in the season after next.
Hopefully players coming along can all enjoy playing on it. It's a really, really good surface for me. There's a certification process with plastic parts, AstroTurf parts that you've got to get past, but there's not such a certification process with grass parks. So I think there's got to be a wee bit more, I don't know, how do you put that, a wee bit more of a level playing field there.
Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
Hibs women's side will begin the defence of the SWPL title at home to Aberdeen. These are the fixtures on the opening weekend of the season. Glasgow City host Motherwell, Rangers are away to Montrose, while Celtic travel to the east to take on Hearts at the Oriam. Tennis, and Scotland's Hamish Stewart is just one match away from qualifying for the main draw at Wimbledon. Stewart, who's ranked 550th in the world, won his fourth qualifier following a third set deciding tiebreak. Should he defeat Leandro Ridi of Switzerland tomorrow, the Scot will make his Wimbledon debut next week. And one other piece of tennis news, I'm afraid Jacob Fairley is out of the Eastbourne Open after losing his last 16 match in straight sets. On to rugby, and Ollie Smith admits he doubted if he would recover fully from a serious knee injury, but is confident he has and is ready to make his first Scotland appearance in almost 2 years. The Glasgow Warriors fullback was ruled out for over a year after rupturing knee ligaments in 2023. He's in the squad for the Scots Summer Tour of New Zealand and Fiji.
Something that was lingering in your mind, will I be able to be as fast before, or step the same way, because that's a real point of difference for me. And there's obviously, you've got those doubts when you're taking grafts from other parts of your body and putting it into your knee, but the surgeon's fairly confident. The physio's the same, and now all my markers are back to where they were before. So yeah, I've certainly had a lot of my parents' mates tell me that that's an end of career from back in the day, so but thankfully that's not the case anymore.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Summer Sale.
And that, folks, is all your sport tonight. See you again tomorrow. John.
Brilliant, thank you. Sean, how's the forecast
now? A clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Very good evening to you. The weather pretty unsettled over the next couple of days. Quite a bit of rain to come through later on tonight, tomorrow morning, but the main rain for us here in the west is going to be on Friday. Pink shaded areas here alone could get about 40 to 60 millimetres of rain falling during Friday. So parts of Dumfries and Galloway, South Ayrshire, Arran, around Clyde Muirshiel, also the Fintry Hills, and quite widely across Argyll and Bute and the West Highlands, seeing a lot of rain during Friday, and also blustery conditions coming in as well. So not looking too great for the next few days, but hopefully during the weekend the weather quietening down and hopefully turning a little bit warmer in that sunshine. Temperatures 14-15 degrees through tonight, staying on the higher side because we've got the cloud and the showery outbreaks of rain, but it isn't until early on tomorrow morning we could start to see some heavy bursts coming through. So as most of you head out the door tomorrow morning, prepare to get soaked. But that rain will clear away. Later in the morning, it clears away into eastern parts. It becomes much drier and sunnier for us during the afternoon. There'll be a few scattered showers around. So a wet start to the day, much better in the afternoon. Highs 17 or 18 degrees Celsius in the breeze, still feeling quite cool, but out of the breeze in the sunshine in the afternoon, not feeling too bad. Then prepare yourselves for Friday. A very wet day to come, and also increasingly windy as well. And that rain with us really throughout much of the day, maybe turning a wee bit more showery later on. Saturday it clears away to the south, drier and brighter, but still blustery, especially across the Hebrides.
TUI sponsors STV weather.
And finally, hoachin, shugly, scooshy are just some of the latest Scottish words to be added to the Oxford English Dictionary. A total of 13 new words have been entered, ranging from breakfast foods through to phrases like "aye right." Our reporter, Laura Piper, has been taking a look at those that made the cut.
Okay, here's your roll. Thank you, Kelly. Now, here in my hands are 3 of the latest Scottish words to be added to the esteemed Oxford English Dictionary: a morning roll, a tatty scone, and a square sausage. Now, in order for a word to be entered into the dictionary, it has to meet certain criteria. There needs to be evidence that the word has been in use for a reasonable amount of time. So just how many of these newly added Scottish words do Scottish people recognise? Chum me along and we'll find out.
Aye right, yes, beamer, bummer, chum, hoaching, lorn sausage, morning roll, play piece, shugly, scooshy, square sausage, tatty scone, well fired, all of them.
Do you have a favourite Scottish word there?
Aye right.
Probably scooshy.
And what is a scooshy? Tell us all.
Oh, I would probably say like scooshy cream. Yeah. Oh, I don't know what hoaching means, but I mean, I'm a big fan of a Scottish breakfast, so square sausage, tatty scone.
Now, I have also done a thorough check, and while the real McCoy might be in the dictionary, I'm afraid, sadly, the real Mackay hasn't made it in yet. But there's always next time, John.
Real McCoy is a charlatan imposter. Of course it's the real Mackay. From all of us here, thanks for watching. Have a good night.